The world is facing a perfect storm of high inflation, rising interest rates, and recession. There have been signs of recovery this year as inflation slows and stock markets rise. But don't be fooled because it won't last. According to Professor Nouriel Roubini, an economist at New York University, he is warning that the world is facing a $443 trillion debt trap and the crunch is coming. It's a terrifying scenario. But the only consolation is that the warning comes from a man known as Dr. Doom. Roubini is a permabear who always takes a pessimistic view of events, in contrast to bulls who prefer to look on the bright side. He's no crank, though. He has a formidable reputation, and his warnings cannot be lightly dismissed. Roubini is a former advisor to US President Bill Clinton, and has worked at the US Treasury, World Bank, and International Monetary Fund. In 2006, he warned of a massive credit and housing bubble in the US, roughly 2 years before it triggered the global financial crisis. Last December, he warned the US Federal Reserve will struggle to avoid a hard landing in 2023, as it raises interest rates to curb inflation. Wall Street could fall by 25% if the US falls into recession this year, which would surely take down the UK's high-flying FTSE 100 too. Now he is even more alarmed. Roubini says this year will go from bad to worse, as the Fed is forced to hike interest rates to 6%, and possibly even beyond. The Fed funds rate is currently 4.75%, but lifting that to 5.5% won't be enough to get inflation back under control. The Fed would have to go well above 6%, and that causes a hard landing and significant distress in equity, bond, and credit markets, he said. It would also lead to a severe tightening of financial conditions and financial stress. This would spell disaster in the UK too, as house prices would surely crash if interest rates rocketed past 6%. This could send mortgage rates to 7% or even 8%. Roubini says we are entering a great stagflation, as central banks cannot hike interest rates high enough to get inflation back down to their target of 2%. If we try to increase interest rates to fight inflation, we cause massive debt defaults, households, corporates, financial institutions, governments. There would be economic and financial crashes. So central banks will have to wimp out. We are heading the worst of all worlds for workers, Roubini added for good measure. So how scared should we be? Anyone who took Roubini's gloomy pronouncements too seriously would live their life in a constant state of dread and panic, probably in a bunker somewhere, with a stash of tinned food and a lifelong subscription to Guns and Ammo magazine. His latest book is called Mega Threats: 10 Dangerous Trends That Imperil Our Future, and How to Survive Them. Trust me, it doesn't make for cheery reading. There will always be a market for somebody preaching the end of times. In the old days, the task fell to wild-eyed religious gurus. Today, it's the job of financial gurus like Roubini. There is certainly a lot to be worried about right now. Roubini's book highlights the worst debt crisis the world has ever seen. Governments pumping out too much money. Climate change and superpower competition between China and the US. If they don't get us, aging populations, protectionism, rising food and energy prices, future pandemics, cyber warfare, and social inequality might. Or we could get them all at the same time. To be fair, Roubini does admit there is a slight chance we can avoid these 10 species-threatening megathreats, but only if we come to our senses and act now. He has previously shrugged off his Dr. Doom tag, saying, "I'm a realist, what I do is connect the dots." Yet nobody can predict the future with any accuracy, as it is impossible to connect every single dot in the global economy. There are just too many. Instead, Roubini connects the scary ones and ignores the positives. He will be right now and again. Let's cross our fingers and hope this time he's over in the doom.